a they have some problem in their body. They're born with disabilities. What about those who don't have the best of voices, or when it comes to, you know, not being able to use all these tools properly? How about the creation of Allah toward them? What this best of creation we could talk about is not only the body, but also about the soul. It's about the soul as well. So when you look at doctors, biologists, before they go to human body, what they do? You probably did in high school. Why? You start with a frog probably, right? Then you go to a pig or something like that. Why? Because there's a lot of similarities between biology of mammals. It's not that they're identical, but there's a lot of similarities. But one thing that there is no similarity between us as human beings, as a species, with any other creation of God, is the ability to think, right? Ability of what we consider intelligence, intellectuality, wisdom. All that is something that makes us unique. And we believe we all have that because it's more than just a couple of biological functions in the brain and the body, but it's because Allah blew into human being from His own essence. وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. So we have that God-like power because God gave us that power. If I can look at God and said, I don't believe in you, if I can say that, it's because of that ability that Allah gave me. From His own soul, I have the free will. But when it comes to any other part of the creation, we say that trees, يُسَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Trees, rocks, mountains, animals, everything worship God. They glorify God. Because they don't have that ability to say, oh, I don't want to worship you, or I don't believe in you. For them, is a given. It's like a machine who follows the system that has been given to them. But for humanity, we're in the best of stature because of our ruh, because of the soul. That give us the ability to reach a status that even angels cannot reach there. Right? So when you look at it, if I want to use an example, if you have a computer, or if you have, let's say, a cell phone that has a very, very high speed of CPU and processing, and when it comes to having, I don't know, a couple of terabytes of data to store, and somebody get this phone and computer and they don't use to the capacity that it has. They only use a fraction of what it could be used for. Still, that machine is a very strong machine, right? It's top of the line machine that you have. You didn't use it. But if you look at that computer or cell phone, you say, oh, this is the best computer or laptop in the market right now. For humanity, when Allah said, I created a human being, أحسن التقويم, I created a human being in the best of statures. It's not that every human being, you look at them and you say, oh, this is the best of stature. When I see a killer, when I see a thief, when I see someone who betray people's trust, have no sense of mercy, how is that أحسن التقويم? How is that the best of stature? It's not that what people could be. That's what we're talking about, not what they are sometimes. So the best of structure means that they have the potential to acquire the highest of the high. When you talk about our Prophet, an example, he's a human being. He's an insan. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ, right? He is a human being like us, but with the difference that he actualized the potential of humanity to reach a level that now angels like Jibreel, when they go to Mi'raj, to a level Jibreel says, I cannot ascend anymore. I don't have the ability, I don't have the permission to come higher. This is أحسن التقويم. We have a well-known Story of one of the scholars, that people used to come for him and make du'as, and usually his du'as and prayers were answered. And somebody was very curious and went to him and said, what's the secret? What is the special dhikr? What is the special, probably, practice that you have that make you this powerful, that your dua with my dua is this different? You make a prayer and people have a high chance of getting answer for that dua, and I pray hundreds of times and nothing. What's the secret? And a lot of people think there are these kind of secrets hidden with a lot of these people. And he said, to be honest with you, the only secret I can tell you I have is whatever Allah says, I said, of course, I will do it. Whatever He says, don't, I stay away from that. So I listen to God as much as I can, most of the time or all the time. And in return, once in a while, when I make a dua, Allah listens to me. That's it. فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. He said it in Quran directly. He said, remember me, I will remember you. It's a mutual relationship. If you don't, out of His mercy, He answers people who don't even call Him. Right? If you remember last year when we talked about Surah Hamd and Rahman, I said that when we say Rahman, which means the beneficent, is the type of mercy that Allah bestow upon every person, even non-believers, even those who don't believe in Him, even those who reject His existence. Still Allah is Rahman with them, with all the creation. But when it comes to the special time of Rahim, the special type of mercy, we say the entirely merciful, the specially merciful. That type of mercy is special, people are able to collect and acquire. So, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We created human being in the best of stature. And when you read this ayah, remember that we're not just talking about the body, we're talking about the soul as well. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We're talking about the ability of human beings to elevate, improve, what we say, grow, rushd. And then the next ayah is basically one of the most important message of the entire Surah 18. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Surely, certainly, we created man in the best of stature. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. That is the ayah that basically is one of the essential messages of this ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, then we return him to the lowest of the low. We created him in the best of his, statures, but the same best of his stature, we returned and we brought him to the lowest of the low. Radadna is the type of return. And thumma is then in English. Thumma, then radadnahu, we returned this person, this insan, to asfal safilin. Asfal, sufla, is something that is low in value. The word sufla. And they're connected. Asfal safilin, the lowest of the low. And what is meant by the lowest of the low? There are a couple of opinions among the scholars. One of them is that we're talking about this person after they disobey Allah and they distance themselves from Allah. The further away you get from Allah, the more you lose your value. Imagine if you, alhamdulillah, I know a couple of people here are familiar with gold and jewelry. Alhamdulillah, we have jewelers here, right? So when they want to determine the value of gold, they said carat, right? The carat is the percentage of the gold in that whatever shape of jewelry that you have, whatever type of jewelry you have. So they have, 12, 14, 18, 24. The more gold you have in that, let's say, earring, or if it's a necklace, the more expensive that thing will be usually. I know it's different, but the fashion and all that, let's talk about just the the material, the gold itself. So the more non-gold substance is in that, the less is the value. Humanity is the same concept. This lowest of the low is that the closer and the more connected you are with Allah, the better and the higher you will get. That's the reason when we do salat, we say qurbatan. I want to be closer to you. When I want to be closer to you, we're not talking about a physical proximity. We're talking about spiritual connectedness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because after the salat, you don't want to be 10 inches taller to be closer with Allah. We're talking about a spiritual connection. Because that closeness gives us value. Give us a sense of value that the entire existence recognizes that. The entire existence recognizes that. You understand what I'm saying? The closer you are to Allah, your surrounding recognizes that. People, maybe they don't, because people, they judge with their eyes, right? The physical eye, they see what kind of car you drive. Some people, they care about your, probably, I don't know, fashion style or the type of boots you're wearing. I don't know if they do, but let's say. But the existence, look how connected you are with Allah. Because the connected you are, your carats of value is higher. Even animals recognize that. So we have a story of Imam Al-Hadi alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In the time of our 10th Imam, and imagine, when we talk about the Imam is someone who's connected to Allah, who's closest of all people to Allah. That's the reason we call him an Imam, a leader. As someone who's qualified to be in the position of leadership. On one major difference between the belief in Imams that we have and some other probably sect they believe in, that sometimes they think the position of Imam is a position that anyone can fill. All due respect to our other madhahib, we have Ismaili brothers, right? They believe that the Imam could be anyone that they recognize. But for us, the Imam is somebody who has a set of criteria that they have to fulfill. So for our 10th Imam, we have that in the time of our 10th Imam, a woman claimed to be Hazrat Zainab. Imagine we're talking about hundreds of years, at least 100 years later. So Hazrat Zainab lived at the time of our 3rd Imam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and passed away in that area, in that time, the time of our 4th Imam. And now we're talking about around 100 years later, in the time of 10th Imam, a woman came and claimed to be the same Zainab. And she, of course, was trying to make some profit out of this claim. So when they asked Imam alayhi salam, Imam said, she's not saying the truth. Our Aunt Zainab passed away, may Allah bless her soul. But she insisted that she is the Zainab. So Imam Hadi alayhi salam said, if she's saying the truth, this is Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet. This is the closeness with Allah. So if she's saying the truth, animals, wild animals will not harm us. When you look at the Imam, when you look at someone who's close to Allah, like Hazrat Zainab, animals, wild animals will not harm us. If you want to test her claim, see if that's true. So we have the Abbasi Caliph ordered to bring some lions at the time. They made a big cage, a big show. And on the promised day, they brought this woman and said, okay, you have to go to this cage with these lions, and if you survive, then we accept you are the Zainab that you're claiming to be. And the moment she saw the lions, she started confessing that I was lying, I'm sorry, I was poor, I needed some money and all that. But the Abbasi Caliph, said, what a better opportunity to just get rid of the Imam. Said, okay, Imam Hadi, Ya Ali ibn Muhammad, why you're not proving to these people, that truly wild animals will not harm you. And we have that Imam alayhi salam went inside the cage. So I'm summarizing this story. So Imam went inside the cage and the lions came and bowed down and placed their head on the feet of Imam Hadi alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. These are just some of the examples that how, as I said, even your surrounding, even the surrounding recognizes that. Animals recognize that. For example, we have for Rasulullah, when he passed away, his camel, he had a camel that he never whipped once in his life. We have that in some part of the history said that the camel stayed next to the grave of the Prophet until it died. He didn't want to live after the Prophet. And there were human beings who saw the Prophet, witnessed the Prophet, and they did what they did. And they start division, and they start hatred, and they start rebellion. This is the difference, that the animal can recognize that. Zuljanah is another story of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's horse that recognizes that who is the Imam, but people didn't. This is asfal as-safilin. If a human being get closer to Allah, you get more value, you get more precious, and even animals and your surrounding recognize that. And I can give you hundreds of examples about these stories of how the surrounding, even objects, bow down before the prophets of God. You know, in Quran there's a story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, that Ibrahim said to God, Ya Allah, show me how you revive the dead. And Allah said to Ibrahim, kill 4 birds, then mix their flesh together, and then place each of them on a mountain, and then call them. And they will come to you, and they will be resurrected. It's in Surah Baqarah, it's an ayah of Quran. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى قَالَ أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. So I want to find this assurance of heart, I want to see it. And those listen to Ibrahim alayhi salam. When they said, come to me, they did by the permission of Allah, of course. Because you're connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The closer you are, the more value we get. But one more time, not necessarily every person recognizes that. Because if you get closer to Allah and people recognize that, the prophets of God would not be killed. But they were. People killed prophets of God. You know, in some cases, they asked for a proof, and Allah showed them the proof, and still, they destroyed the proof. Because sometimes say, Ya Allah, show me a sign that you're there. Show me the sign that our path is right. And we see the sign, and it's not a guarantee. One example of that is in Surah Shams, when Prophet Salih, his people asked him, show us a miracle. So what kind of miracle? He said, ask God to bring us something out of this mountain. And we have that Salih asked from Allah, and from a mountain a camel came. Naqatullah, called the camel of God because God made him. And then Salih said, okay, this is a miracle. Don't kill this miracle. When it's drinking from the water of the river, let it drink. And what they did, they cut the feet and they killed it. So it's not a proof that is enough for the guidance, but we need submission after seeing the proof as well. So now the more distance we get from Allah, the less that we remember Allah, the less I obey Allah, this is the lowest of the low. The more I forget Allah, the low I will get. To a degree that there is no value for anyone except myself. And that person that is distant from Allah has no value. Even if the entire humanity recognize them, give him attention, give him fame, but if they're not connected with Allah, when they die, then none of that is going to matter. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ. So you go to the lowest of the low. This is one opinion on the tafsir of human being going to the lowest of the low. It means that losing that humanity, that value when we disconnect from Allah. Another one said is the age, is people getting old. So the human being, when you look at them when they're child and they're born, everything start going upward, right? First, ahsan al-taqweem. When you're a teenager, you're getting young, everything is coming to the best form. Physically, you're getting stronger, right? When it comes to your senses, you have the peak of all the perception and all the sensitivity, that all of the sensation that we are a recipient of. And then there's downhill. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ. Then when the old age comes, you go downward. You start losing all those. That's another. Both of them could be applicable to this ayah. It said, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Shall I leave that for tomorrow night? But if you want to avoid going low to, lowest of the low, returning to the losing value that we have, there is a solution, and that is iman, faith, and righteous actions, good deeds. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. If you have the right perception and right belief, and you have the right performance, you're set. That is the way to avoid going to the lowest of the low. And if we see it, anytime humanity lost any of these two, we lost it generally. And I want to finish with that, inshallah. If you have any question, I'll answer. This is the room, this is the slido.com, code is there. If you have any question, inshallah, we continue the rest of Surah Teen tomorrow. So for tonight, we talked about لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Inshallah, the rest we leave it for tomorrow night. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.